What is going on, my fellow Jets fans? Welcome to the latest episode of the New York Jets State of Mind podcast, coming at you as I love to do every week at the bare minimum. My name is Malcolm Harper, aka MHJetsFan83. You can follow me on X, Instagram, and YouTube at MHJetsFan83, which is one word, all lowercase. You can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. The video version of this episode will be posted on my YouTube channel at MHJetsFan83. Before I get to my thoughts on Divisional Round Weekend, the latest Jets news involving the possible hires of Lance Newmark as the general manager and Aaron Glenn as the head coach. If you could do me a huge favor and share my podcast and all of my social media accounts with other Jets fans, that'd be greatly appreciated. Please subscribe and hit the like button so that my podcast and channel can grow. So with that being said, let's get to my thoughts on Divisional Round Weekend, and I will go through the games in order. Let's start with the Texans-Chiefs. They win the game by the score of 23-14. Other than Travis Kelce, what other offense does the Chiefs have? I cannot stand the Chiefs getting all the calls. I'm sick and tired of it. The roughing the passes penalties on Patrick Mahomes should have not been called. And last Sunday on NFL Game Day morning, the vice president of officiating for the NFL had the nerve to say that the officials got the calls right. I will speak for not only Jets fans, but for football fans by saying, what in the world are you looking at? I mean, are you blind? Like, you need to get your eyes examined. The NFL wants the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, and I think it's rigged. And how dare you insult our intelligence? Like, come on now. And then I'm sick and tired of this, and all the networks showing Taylor Swift. Like, come on now, can we stop it already? Enough already. Even Troy Aikman was calling it out on the telecast. But I digress. Anyway, let's get back to the game. The Texans beat themselves with the special team. It started with the opening kickoff, plus the 15-yard penalty on Boyd from the Texans for unsportsmanlike conduct for taking his helmet off. Not to mention the fact shoving his special teams coach as he was going to the sidelines. I mean, you cannot do that, especially against the Chiefs. There is no margin of error against them. Now, also, a missed field goal in which, by the way, the defender clearly jumped off sides, and the referees didn't call that either. The block field goal sealed the deal for the Texans in the fourth quarter. The Texans were down 13-6 going into the halftime, but they're open to possession. It was a 15-play, 82-yard drive that took 10 minutes and 24 seconds off the clock, only to miss the extra point. That told me right then and there that they were going to lose the game. After the Chiefs scored to make it 20-12, the defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs basically was sending the house on C.J. Stroud. I felt really bad for the Texans because not only did they have to play against the Chiefs, they had to play against the referees as well. Unfortunately, the Chiefs are going to the 7th consecutive AFC Championship game. That's not right, and I'm sick and tired of talking about the Chiefs. So let's move on to the next game that happened last Saturday night. It was the Commanders against the Lions. The Commanders, and I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't even think they had a chance against the Lions. So they went in Detroit, and they beat the Lions by a score of 45-31. The Commanders were pretty much playing with nothing to lose. And Jaden Daniels is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to be a problem in the NFC East for years to come. I have reached out to so few of my friends that are Commanders fans, and they are all fired up that Jalen Daniels is a quarterback. I've been telling them, and I'm pretty sure you guys can agree what I'm going to say about Jaden Daniels, but he looks like he's one of those guys that says, hold my beer, I got this. I find that to be pretty funny, but nothing phases him at all. I mean, he's kind of like, okay, let's go. Let's get back on the field so we can do what we need to do. I'm so happy for the Commanders fans after the dysfunction that they had to go through with Daniel Snyder. And I've reached out to one of my buddies, and I was like, look, your team is going to be going places. And you also gave me a hope as a Jets fan if we can actually get everything right, from the ownership to the front office to the quarterback. Now the Commanders are actually going to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1992. Now, the Lions, on the other hand, they had 5 turnovers. That was pretty much the difference in the game, including 3 interceptions by Jared Goff. Now, let's get to the Sunday games. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Los Angeles Rams by a score of 28-22. Saquon Barkley, and I feel bad for Giant fans for letting this guy go. He rushes for over 205 yards and 2 touchdowns, including one that was 78 yards and one for 62 yards, respectively. Plus, they won the takeaway battle 2-0, along with 5 sacks on Matthew Stafford. Also, Jalen Hurts also pitched in with a 44-yard TD run of his own. Now, in the final game, the Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens by the score of 27-25. Josh Allen ran for 2 rushing touchdowns. Passing wide, he was not great. Only 127 yards passing. But the biggest difference in this game was the 3 turnovers that killed the Ravens. Lamar Jackson had 2 turnovers by himself, which include a boneheaded interception and a fumble. Mark Andrews, the tight end, also fumbles. And then we all know what the biggest play of the game is. When Lamar Jackson actually drives him for that touchdown with under 2 minutes to go, the biggest play of the game was the drop on the 2-point conversion. He was wide open and could not secure the catch. Just brutal for the Baltimore Ravens. So now with the conference championship games are now all set. In the NFC championship game, you have the Commanders will be playing the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox. And the AFC championship game, the Bills are going to be traveling to Arrowhead Stadium to play the Kansas City Chiefs at 6:30 p.m. on CBS. And the winners of both games are going to be playing each other in Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans on February 9th. So if I had to pick both conference championship games, I'm going for the Commanders in the upset, and I'm going for the Bills to stop the three-peat. Now, let's move along to the latest Jets news. Now, Aaron Glenn today had a second in-person interview at Florham Park. Also, they also brought in Lance Newmark, the assistant general manager of the Commanders, into Florham Park as well for a second interview. So Josina Anderson tweeted earlier today that she's told optimism steadily growing that the visit with Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn and Commanders assistant general manager Lance Newmark is trending positively per league sources. Moreover, the sentiment is that the Jets' jobs are theirs. All contractual match points getting certified upon agreement. To me, this sounds more inevitable at the moment right now. And Connor Hughes also tweeted that the Jets hire Aaron Glenn as the head coach, a name I've heard associated with him as defense coordinator Steve Wilks, longtime assistant with multiple stops as the defensive coordinator who has 2 stints as a head coach. That's valuable experience for a first-timer in Aaron Glenn. To me, as a Jets fan, my 2 biggest questions on the hiring Aaron Glenn is number 1, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? And number 2, will Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets next season? And I also saw a tweet on X from Zach Rosenblatt, who covers the Jets for The Athletic, saying that a name in the mix to be the Jets offensive coordinator, if and when he gets named head coach, is Clint Kubiak. He was also in the mix for the Seattle offensive coordinating job as well, too. Spent last year calling plays for the Saints. In addition to Scott Turner and Nick Haley, as Connor Hughes stated, will be others considered as well. If you tell me Clint Kubiak is going to be the OC and Steve Wilks is going to be the defensive coordinator, I'm all in. 2 home run hires for Aaron Glenn. Now, Jordan Schultz, the Fox Sports NFL insider, just tweeted this about an hour ago, saying that Aaron Glenn has landed back in Detroit on Woody Johnson's plane. No deal as of now, but sources said a substantial offer was made, and the Jets' job is his if he wants it. Glenn is currently constructing his potential staff, which would ideally include Lions quarterback Mark Brunell. Remember that guy, Jets fan, backing up Mark Sanchez? If he doesn't get the OC job in Detroit, who could be in play for the OC for Glenn? I'm also told that Aaron Glenn wants to bring a veteran defensive coordinator who has been a former NFL head coach. Glenn, sources said, is still putting together his offensive staff together. Former Jets special teams coach Mike Westhoff could be an option should he decide to come out of retirement. Glenn is currently scheduled to interview for the Saints later this week. I, as a Jets fan, would love Mike Westhoff to come out of retirement to be special teams coordinator for the Jets again. Now I'm seeing on X that Mike Pettin, the former defensive coordinator for the Jets that has head coaching experience, may be considered for the defensive coordinator position, but who knows? And with all that being said, it sounds to me like Woody Johnson, he's willing to spend top dollar for this coaching staff. Let's get this done. Hopefully for announcement, hopefully by either midday tomorrow, the end of the week, or possibly next week. I am optimistic about all this. And if Aaron Glenn does get hired as the head coach, it will be a full circle moment. 31 years ago, he was drafted by the Jets with the 12th overall pick in 1994. Now, also with another, and now the Jets coming with another first-time head coach with no experience. Based upon everything he has done, from playing to scouting to be a QC, defensive backs coach, defensive coordinator, he is fully qualified to be this head coach. So I'm like I said, I'm all in on Aaron Glenn. Now, let me just say this: this has bugged me, and it's been really, really disappointing that there are some Jets fans out there on social media that are rooting for Aaron Glenn to lose. I, for once, just don't get it. What is wrong with Jets fans? And to me, I think some people will never be happy. Let's just call it for what it is. It's just disappointing, and it's just downright disrespectful. So I'll just leave it at that. So before I get on out of here, let me get to my favorite part of my podcast. And you guys know what it is. It's new follower shout out. And as I always said, I am a man of the people on this podcast. So each follower that follows me either on X, Instagram, and YouTube, you're going to get a shout out personally from me, because you guys actually make this podcast happen as well too by following me. So with that being said, let me shout out to the following new followers on X. So it's EF Saley, David Jeskowski, I think I'm saying that right, and Woody J Sucks. So with all those names I just followed, thank you so much for following me. I really appreciate it. No new followers on Instagram or YouTube. Now, with that being said, I'm signing off. I cannot thank you guys enough for supporting me on this podcast. If you listen to this podcast for the first time, do me a favor, wherever you're listening at, or wherever device that you're listening on, please go to X, Instagram, and or YouTube, and go to the search box and type in my name at MHJetsFan83, which is one word, all lowercase. I will be posting this episode, once again, I said in the beginning, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. And this video version of this podcast is also going to be posted on my YouTube channel as well. So hopefully, with the official announcements is made with the hirings of Lance Newmark, being the GM, and Aaron Glenn, the head coach, along with the press conferences, I will be on this platform to react on my hirings and give you my thoughts based upon their introductory press conference. Let's see it ends up happening with Aaron Glenn going to the Saints for that interview. So until then, as always, JETS, Jets. Take care.